what does an SAS class look like? So in ninth and 10th grade, an SAS class is part of your schedule. So it's one of your 6 classes. It meets 3 times a week for 70 minutes each. So the first 20 to 25 minutes will be a mini lesson based on a focus area. And students will then transition into a work period where they can bring any assignments that they currently have, whether it's a daily homework assignment or a long-term assignment like paper, project, some type of assessment. And the teacher will give the students during the work period some individual attention. The ratio is 4-to-1 student to teacher, which allows us to have that time with each student and really help them dig into what it is that they're working on. In grades 11 and 12, it shifts just slightly. We no longer have mini lessons that begin the class. We sort of reflect a college type learning center where most of it is a work block. And so we ask students to bring in assignments that they need support with or that they need to get completed. And we do the same type of individual work with them. We do have a 5-to-1 student teacher ratio in 11 and 12, but that's because students can opt in to take SAS either once, twice, or 3 times a week. So we never have more than 4 students in a class at a time, but because of the flexibility in how many classes they take, there are more in each class. So something different that we do at our school is called the learning profile, which directly correlates with SAS, but the learning profile is actually provided for every student in our school, regardless of if they're enrolled in SAS or not. And the learning profile is a snapshot of the student for teacher reference. So it includes strengths, challenges, interests, and recommendations for each student. So these are created over the summer, each summer as students enroll, and then they travel with them throughout the time that they're at CHCH. They're living documents so that they can constantly be updated if there's new recommendations or new accommodations that might be needed, or if a teacher finds something that was really helpful for a student, they might put that and add it to the learning profile to share out with other teachers so that they might be able to use that in their classroom as well. So for recommendations, we provide all relevant accommodations and recommendations from students' formal documentation. So anything that you used in the application process, we go through and pull out what accommodations would be needed and relevant for your student in the classroom. And then we also like to highlight some strengths and occasionally challenges noted in the admissions process. Highlighting the strengths kind of helps give teachers an idea of where students are at, and then also the challenges helps a teacher to identify where they may need to support that student more. And then within the classroom, we already have small class sizes. We do a lot of scaffolding for writing and reading comprehension support and math manipulatives in our math classes. So those are things that are actually already happening in the classroom, whether a student has an accommodation or not. And oftentimes our students don't even realize that those have already sort of been woven into the classroom. So what to expect in SAS? So a learning style inventory. Each SAS student completes a learning style inventory in order for to help the student and teachers unlock appropriate learning strategies. So we have a number of teachers in the SAS department, and each year we ask students to take this learning style inventory again so that we can kind of identify where students think they're at, and especially as they get different teachers throughout the years, we can learn from this inventory about how to best support them. EF development. EF development work at CHCH includes work on planning, prioritizing, organizing, cognitive shifting, and self-monitoring skills. And then we also have layers of support. So as SAS teachers, we coordinate with content teachers on what they're currently doing in their classes so that we can provide layers of support for students. So for example, in an English or history class, if they are working on the steps of the writing process, we try and pull that into SAS as well so we can reinforce that, but also be another avenue to provide that support while they're working through that process. And we're skills focused. All of our classes are skill focused, whether it's reading, writing, problem solving, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. And with collaboration, like I just said, we work very closely with other teachers and other interdisciplinary and provide interdisciplinary approaches to learning. This especially happens on the 9th and 10th grade level, where a lot of our SAS teachers will collaborate to help those teachers create things to help organizers, different things like that to help in their classroom as well. And then we have the ramp up. So our skill development progresses over the course of the year. So, we start really by getting to know the student and their learning style, and then that allows us to provide them with academic challenge in a supportive environment. That's
Thanks so much, Lizzie. So I want to give our students a chance to talk a little bit and share their perspective about SAS in particular. So Olivia, I'm going to put you on the spot first and ask you if you could start us off maybe by sharing with us what has been the most valuable aspect of SAS for you. Maybe also first telling us what grade you're in now and how long you were in SAS, if you're still taking it, what years you did take SAS. That would be great. Thanks.
So I'm currently a senior. I came to CHCH when I was a sophomore, and I've taken it all 3 years I've been here. The most valuable aspect of it for me is probably tied with two things. One of them being just the time it gives me. I am not great about doing work outside of like the school day in the classroom. And so it's nice to just have kind of a study hall space, but like a space where I know I'm going to be able to get help if I need it. And it's not like taboo to ask for help. Like the whole reason I'm there is to get that help and get that support. And then the second thing is probably the like community it creates. It's very small classes. So you get to know everyone and, like, I've had a lot of people who I don't interact with outside of SAS in my SAS classes, but, like, we still bond, we get inside jokes, and it's just, like, a, like, nice place where you can just kind of be.
Thanks, Olivia. Kami or Molly, do you want to chime in and maybe give your perspective about that question?
Yeah, I would love to. So, personally, the most helpful part of SAS for me was the connection you get with your teacher, especially as somebody who's really struggled with academics for pretty much my entire academic career. Um, my SAS teacher really helped me out, and just having somebody that I know understands the way that I learn and understands what works for me and what doesn't work for me is super important. That's the reason that these classes are so small, is so your teachers really get to understand your learning style and what helps. And truly, that has been the personalized learning is really what has helped me.
Molly, do you have anything you want to add?
Sure. The teachers really, they do, as Kami said, they form that like one-on-one connection with you, and they really do want to see you succeed. So they will help you throughout any class. And even if you just like send a quick email and be like, I'm having trouble with this assignment, they're always willing to help.
Yeah, I think one really nice aspect of the SAS program and the way that it works with the rest of our core academic curriculum is that the students do, like Olivia mentioned, kind of have a home base in SAS when they're enrolled in that program, a place to take questions whenever they need that extra help. Also, our core teachers are obviously connected with our SAS teachers, so our SAS teachers understand what's happening in the core classes. We spend as a faculty a lot of time talking about our students in the best way possible. Um, really getting to know them and sharing information about them, some of which does go into that learning profile that Lizzie mentioned. And that is a living document that follows them each year, that they're with us. So that really helps us to inform and keep up to date with the best things that are working for them in SAS or in any of their core classes outside of the department as well. Thanks, guys. Okay, so the next question that we have is, how has SAS sort of informed or affected your experience at Chapel Hill as a whole? How do you think your experience would have been maybe different if you hadn't taken the class, or what do you see as a benefit of really an effect of taking that class while you've been with us? Anyone can jump in.
For me, it taught me a lot about time management, with which I'm typically not that great at. So it's really helped with that. And like, sorry, I forgot what I was gonna say. Um, and working with that one-on-one time with the teacher and forming that connection, especially with someone who did typically not have the best academic career in my past.
Yeah, also in addition to that, um, just the things that they know will help you. So for example, my SAS teacher as well as my advisor for my sophomore and junior year is also an SAS teacher, and she gave me a lot of support outside my classes. And both of them really taught me to kind of break things down, take everything step by step, because I struggle a lot with executive processing, but also just once there's a lot of work, it kind of feels overwhelming. It's hard not to drown. So I've really applied that helped me clearly in all of my core classes. But I've also been able to apply that to everything in my life, especially now as a senior with all my college applications. That's been super helpful. And even job applications, stuff like that. The reminder to take everything slowly, everything like that really like follows you outside of school.
It's helped me a lot with like connections. Miss Rosen is my SAS teacher, and I've had her for 2 years now, and she's also my dorm parent. And so like it's been really nice having that bridge between like living at school and being a student. And then outside of like that aspect of it, it it's like provided me with a lot of like value for the school and like allowed me to appreciate a lot of it and like appreciate what my teachers do for me and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think, Kami, like you sort of mentioned, I would love to hear from you all if there are things that you have learned in SAS that you use sort of in your everyday life, or that has sort of helped you um, throughout your high school career, or even thinking about into the future, if there's any specific things that you can point to that came directly out of your SAS classes or curriculum, would be great to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's just all of the academic habits that you learn in SAS, which also are tailored to you. But just in general, all the academic habits you learn aren't just for school, they're for everything in your life. So I know going to freshman year, I really struggled a lot with time management, organization. Those are my two main kind of areas for improvement that I was really trying to focus on. And that didn't really just help me in school, it helped me in every piece of what I do, whether it's um harder stuff, whether it's more like applications, like I said. Genuinely everything stems from your academic.
Oops, we lost Kami for a second there. That's okay. Olivia or Molly, do you have anything you want to share about anything that you use sort of in your everyday life that you've gotten from SAS or taken directly from a class?
Yeah, for me, it was a lot of like advocating for yourself and reaching out when you needed that support. Because in the past, it was always like, oh, I don't get this, so I never will, which just isn't the case at all. And for me, SAS was really helpful because I could see my improvement. So I took SAS for 2 years. I took it 3 times a week sophomore year, twice a week junior year, and by senior year, I didn't need to take it. So that was really helpful for me to actually see that improvement and not needing to take it as much each year.
Olivia, do
Um,
you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, so kind of like what Kami touched upon, but like none of my college apps would be in if it weren't for SAS. Like it's been a huge support in like that regard, just having that space to focus just on that while like in school has been really nice. And then kind of like what Molly was saying, it's helped me like learn to advocate a lot for myself, but also just to have relationships with other teachers who like maybe teach subjects I'm not the biggest fan of or don't have a huge interest. Like it still gives me that space to kind of find interest in things that I typically would maybe shy away from.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think that we notice from our students that the students who take SAS for 1, 2, 3, sometimes even 4 years, really develop a strong sense of self-advocacy and self-confidence out of the department. Obviously, the goal for all of our students is that we see continuous improvement, raising their level of challenge every year. And that can look different for every student, but the idea that many of our students, especially when they get into 11th and 12th grade, can come into class, whether that's a core academic class or SAS, knowing what they need to work on, and particularly in SAS, in the younger grades, those classes are a little bit more led by the teacher, where we're talking about specific skills. There's a curriculum, like Lizzie was mentioning, but especially as the students get older, we're really hoping that they will start to turn that around and advocate for themselves and bring in, come to class saying, here's what I need help with today. Here's something that I want to work on. Here's something that I want to focus on, because we know that having that skill will really serve them well in college and in their future, whatever they choose to do after Chapel Hill. So I'm glad to hear that seems to have been the case for you guys. Um, so the next question is for Lizzie. We'll give our students a break for a second. Um, how do you and the rest of the SAS faculty prepare students for academic success in the future after Chapel Hill?
Um, I would say we sort of break it down into a few different categories. I think we put a lot of focus on skill development, especially in the 9th and 10th grade, focusing on those key academic skills like note taking, time management, study skills, writing strategies, and that's definitely crucial for them to build that foundation for learning. And then, like everyone just sort of talked about, another category would be self-advocacy, right? Um, Teaching them how to communicate their needs effectively and encouraging them to advocate for themselves, but also helping them to practice how to do that if it is something that they struggle with and they need to get better at doing. And then Kami mentioned this word earlier, tailored support. I like to use tailored instead of individualized because I think, SAS is not a one-on-one program as much as it is so small and we can focus one-to-one with students, but the class as a whole is our main focus. So we're able to tailor what we do in class to support each student, but that tailoring helps us to understand their unique learning styles and needs. Um, and we put a lot of focus on this in the beginning stages of SAS. So how they all were sort of talking about building relationships with their SAS teacher. I think that is first and foremost the biggest thing that we work on before anything else is sort of starting to create that relationship and having them to understand that they can trust us and that we do want to see them succeed and that we want to partner with them for them to be able to do their best. And then feedback. So we have, such small classes that we are really able to sort of track how they're doing and what's going on, which allows us to be able to provide them with feedback and help to also refine their strategies. So those learning inventories that I was speaking about before, I often with my classes will have students do it at the beginning of the year, but I'll also have them do it at the end of the year. And it's a really great representation to see where they feel like they are at from start to finish, and where the gaps still might be and how we can provide them to refine that and to gain those skills that they may feel like they're still missing, or on the opposite, to maybe show them that they actually do have those skills, they're just not recognizing it. And then because I work on the college side of things as well, and I'm mostly with the 11th and 12th grade students, I also think a lot about the transition process and those transitional skills. Um, so while we're trying to help them understand their learning styles in the beginning, we also want to prepare them for what's to come and be able to guide them on what support might look like outside of school. Beyond this place, the support might look really different wherever they end up going. And we just want them to be able to advocate and push for what it is that they need and to be able to know what that is so that they can explain that to their faculty and staff wherever they may end up or at, at a job or, wherever their path takes them.
Thanks, Lizzie. All right, we have one more question for the students. So I guess this question actually works really well for you all because we happen to have 3 seniors on the call. So as you guys start to think about life after Chapel Hill and whatever you're going to be doing next year, is there anything that you would share, sort of looking back on your experience at Chapel Hill, but specifically with SAS, that you think would be good for a prospective student who's maybe in 8th grade right now, thinking about joining us for 9th grade, should know about ways to get the most benefit out of SAS if they're going to take that for at least 1, maybe 2 or 3 years at Chapel Hill?
Sorry, excuse me. I think so. I'm planning on taking a gap year. So college is a little bit removed for me, but um, the like skills I've gained, especially when it comes to just how I interact with like faculty and staff members because of SAS and like how comfortable I now am with like just sending a small email, I think will make that transition process a lot easier just because I have that and I'm comfortable with that. And then SAS also helps a lot with like breaking down tasks. So like if I have like a big project that's due at like the end of a trimester, setting my own deadlines and then meeting those and like having reason to meet those, SAS helps a lot with showing you how that works and then like tailoring it to you. Like I'm not great about holding myself accountable, so I have to find ways to kind of like give myself a little treat if I meet a deadline that I set for myself. So I think SAS has done a really good job kind of teaching me how to do that, and that's something that I've already used like outside of school, like in my daily life.
Awesome.
Yeah, Ms. Rosen also talks about this, but I feel like the key word with SAS is self-advocacy. You will always hear that when talking about SAS because the goal of SAS is to get you kind of out of the class so you can have those skills on your own. These aren't, the goal is to have you be able to do the skills as opposed to the teacher teaching them to you. So going out and transitioning from high school to college or from high school to just the real world, knowing how to do that by yourself is one of the most important things you can get. And I also feel like that's one of the most prominent goals of SAS as well. They do a really great job of pushing that.
I also think if you're looking at the freshman and sophomore year SAS classes, there's like a mini lesson before you get into like your actual work. And I would use that to your advantage because you can apply that to your academics for the rest of high school and after high school and real world experiences too. So I would definitely use those to your advantage.
Thanks, guys. I know it's wild to think that this is your last year at Chapel Hill, but we're so proud of you and so proud of everything that you've done at the school. Part of the reason why I know personally for myself working at Chapel Hill is such an amazing way to spend my days. The community is really small. We have just over 200 students at the school, which means that it's large enough to offer a lot of diverse programs, sports, arts, opportunities for the students, but small enough so that we really can get to know our students. And I think SAS is a wonderful example of how that actually works in real time and reflects in the students' experience while they're here, is a place for even closer relationships to develop. So I'm really glad to be able to spend some time talking about it with you all today. Lizzie, I don't know if you want to add some thoughts about, as someone who spends all of your time thinking about SAS, any last sort of things that you wanted to add about your experience working in this department, why this is something that you have committed the last few years of your life to doing, as part of your career here at Chapel Hill?
So I think for me, the biggest thing that kind of like inspires me about SAS is I could have used something like this when I was in high school. I went to a really, really big high school. I was sort of, on my own, having to figure this kind of stuff out by myself. So I think for me, it's been so wonderful to be able to share my passion of all of this kind of stuff because I had to teach it to myself. And to be able to teach that now to students and really be able to see their trajectory and the success. So, for example, with the 3 students we have on the panel, I've never taught Kami, but I have seen Kami now for 4 years, and have seen the tremendous growth that she's made. With Molly and Olivia, I've personally taught both of them, and so it's been incredible to see their progression and seeing them from when they started with me to now, and like just the complete different students they are academically and personally. But just to be able to really see how they're taking what you're providing them and using it, right? Because that's the whole goal, is to be able to show them something and for them to be able to effectively use it on their own. So it just brings me a lot of joy, I guess, to be able to provide this foundation for them, because it's only going to continue to help them in all of their future endeavors. So
Thank you so much, Lizzie. That that feels like a great place to end it. I want to thank you so much to our panel for participating. To everyone watching, thank you for being a part of this for the last 45 minutes or so. As I mentioned, this will be posted on our website where there is, of course, much more information about our school and our programs. Please feel free to reach out to us in the admissions office to learn more or schedule a time to come visit us on campus. We look forward to meeting you. So thanks so much again, and I hope everyone has a great night.